Hi everyone, thank you so much for tuning in. I'm Jenny, I'm the store manager at Lululemon in Glasgow, and I'm here with Johnathan Pugh, one of the owners of Train MBS in Cathcart. Hi Jonathan.
Hello. Hi,
How
Jenny.
are you?
I'm well, thank you. Yeah, I'm doing okay. Thanks
Good.
for having me.
What did you have for your breakfast this morning, Jonathan?
I had pancakes. Florence, one of my daughters, has been asking for pancakes all week, so Kate put them together.
Yeah,
She's off
nice.
as a farmer today.
Brilliant. Thanks for taking the time for me today and joining us for this chat. So, Jonathan, I'm going to start with one of the most difficult questions so we can get to know you a little bit more before we dive into our chat.
Sure.
So, Jonathan, tell us what makes you uniquely you.
I don't know if the only thing I would say that's unique to me is my story. But apart from that, I like writing lists. I'm a list guy. I'm very organized. Yeah, I'm sure we'll get into that a wee bit more. But yeah, I'm not really. I guess I'm not really sure.
What's your list style? Do you like start one again every day, or do you have an ongoing thing, or do you use any cool tips like that we could maybe take for organizing ourselves?
At the moment, what I tend to use is Google Keep. Google Keep is just an app, and it's a kind of a notepad style. It's almost like, I think it's meant to replicate the sticky notes that you would put in your fridge. So I tend to think quite long term, and then work my way back. So I'm not the best at going, what's the next thing I've got to do? I tend to think probably a little bit too far ahead. So I've always got maybe 4 or 5 things, currently that I'm working on, and then I'll just try to come back to, right, what do I need to do next? So normally I've got, in terms of organization and list styles, you've got to find something that works for you. Yeah. But what works for me is to break down my week on a Sunday night, try and look ahead what's realistic, which is not always easy to I always end up probably getting half done. If I get half done of what I've written down, I'm happy.
Yeah.
Regularly review, check into those bigger tasks, those bigger projects.
Yeah, I love that. I'm the same. Like, I like to have something ongoing and review it again and just actually see how the days went. It's nice to have like a little check mark against some things.
Yeah, totally. Yeah.
All right, so tell us a little bit about Train MBS and what was your inspiration behind opening?
Sure. Well, it's been a bit of a blur. I think when we first started to think about branching out on our own, we were in a gym, so we were personal trainers, myself and Craig, in Nuffield. So we'd been PTs in this commercial environment for about 5 or 6 years, and it's great, and for anyone that's getting started or wants to get started in the fitness industry or would like to get started as a personal trainer, it's a very good environment to make some mistakes in, and just meet a whole ton of people. And for me, I was always quite a shy person, so things like standing up in front of a class of people and telling them what to do took a lot of practice and a lot of a lot of mistakes. So to be in an environment like a gym is great because you can make those mistakes and you can learn from them, and you can get feedback in a way that it's not you can get good feedback. Where we had gotten to, or where I had personally gotten to, is I wanted better for my clients. That was the first motivation to think about branching out and doing your own thing. I lost count of the number of times I would have a client come in for their 6 p.m. session. We've written a plan. Their plan's to go and deadlift tonight or squat. And you walk into the weights room and there's 6 people sort of taking turns on the only squat rack in the gym. So, and look at my client and be like, right, okay, so we're gonna have to change the plan. So, in a practical sense, I wanted a space that we could kind of control, and that we could make sure that when someone comes in for a session, they're especially for personal training, that they're getting a great session, and it's about them. So there was that. We also, I think we both felt that a lot of people who could really benefit from various types of training, like resistance training, women in particular, and this might not be every gym, but certainly the gyms that I've worked in, the weights room tends to be male dominated, typically. Maybe not as much now. And it takes quite a bold person to kind of go into that environment and when they're a beginner. And that's the same. It's the same for men and for women. Most of my clients were female, and they still are. And I felt like in order for them to get the benefit, or even just to get started in something, having an environment which was comfortable, which was non-threatening, and kind of non-narcissistic, and a bit kind of like it could, sometimes it's just competence. When someone feels like they're incompetent at something, they don't want to make a mistake in front of other people. The reality is everyone in gyms all over the world, they're all making mistakes, even personal trainers, we make mistakes. So wanted to have this environment where people could get started, especially women, with things like resistance training, and that's our focus. I mean, like I said, I write lists, so I'm going down the points. I guess for me personally, I had just started a family. I just got married. So me and Kate had our first child, had Florence. And I was still working 70 to 80 hours a week, most weeks in the gym. And there's a kind of it's not even a ceiling of like, not necessarily even earning money, but just I got to a point where I was burning out on a regular basis. And when I got home at night, after a 12 or a 14-hour shift, I'd be drained, I'd be exhausted, and I wouldn't really be bringing home my best self. And I started to feel like I'm probably giving the best parts of me to my clients, and I'm probably giving the best parts of me to these classes, and I'm probably, and my attention's getting diverted, and and like any not all large organizations, but larger environments, sometimes there's politics in there as well, and so it can be distracting. And I just felt like I'm not showing up in the way that I would like for my kids, and plus I want to spend time with them while they're young. It's really, really important to me. So there was that was that too. Really wanted to be there for them, and so that was a big part of the motivation to make the jump.
God, what an amazing realization to think, like, I'm doing my job, and then, wow, wait a minute, I am not being my best self for the most important people in my life. Like, that must have been quite, like, bringing you to a junction, going like, whoa, hang on a minute, something needs to change. I'm sure a lot of people can relate to that. I certainly can. So how old are your children?
So we've got two daughters, Florence and Penelope. So Florence is 4 and Penelope's 2. And they're they're the best part of my life. Without a doubt. Love them to bits. The hard work. Kids are hard. As you know, kids are hard. They challenge you. They've definitely challenged me. And what I realized is becoming a parent, you realize that no one really has this figured out. You kind of learn this thing as you go along. And I wanted to be there for them more. Probably an element of pride as well. I wanted to. I kind of have. I guess I have these like naive ideas about the future, and I imagine the kids finishing school when they're older and being able to come into the gym, and be around, be around exercise and see it.
Make it normal for them.
And just you know, I'm not always very good at this, but I try. One thing I'm learning is about trying not to give the girls too many like lessons, or like, you know, having these like mottos or things. I'm just trying to model behavior. Not always the right behavior, but you know, trying to model exercise, eating well, balance, you know, different ways to communicate, and being open to learning, and hoping that they just pick it up as they go.
Yeah, they will, for sure. They will. Because you know what it's like. Sometimes they'll come out with a phrase or a saying or something that you know that you've said yourself, but you might not want them to say, and you know that they're modeling your behavior and what you say.
For
so
sure.
What do you think your children would say if I asked them, what does Daddy do for a living?
Well, Penelope would just run off in the opposite direction. You know, but Florence tends to say that you know, Florence tends to say something like, I help people get fitter and stronger, fit and strong.
Yeah.
And also that I build things, because she's not down at the gym all that often, but when she is down there, or she has been down there, it tends to be because you know, when we're doing a big project, like before we did a bit of a refurb last year. So I was down there for most of the day doing DIY and putting bits of kit together, and I had her down there a couple of times just helping out and having fun. So she's kind of, I think her perception of what I do is actually, I tend to be down there with like a drill and spanner. I'm building stuff. Yeah.
Brilliant. So, Jonathan, what's the most important lesson you think you've learned in your lifetime so far?
Okay. I've got tons. I couldn't narrow it down to one, Jenny. I tried my best. I think the biggest lesson that I've learned so far, this, I have to give credit to my coach, Joanne Moller, for this. She helped me to get to this realization, is most of my life I had modeled who I wanted to be based on trying to be the opposite of who my dad was, because I had such a chaotic, kind of toxic relationship with my father. I haven't seen him in 21 years, and I tried to model and push myself in the opposite direction my whole life up to fairly recently, based on being what I thought was the opposite of this idea of my father. So, you know, where I saw that he was lazy or didn't take responsibility, I would do those things to the extreme. So I'd work myself until I was sick. Sometimes I would, you know, I would show up to, like, if I had a meeting with someone and I had the flu, or I had, you know, it wouldn't matter if my arm was hanging off, I'd be there. So I'd stick to things to a level that it actually negatively affected me.
Yeah.
I tried to take responsibility, but sometimes maybe too much. And it's so the biggest lesson I've learned is that I never really took the time, or I didn't even have the tools or the ability to, who am I? Like, who am I really, and who do I want to be? What are my values? What's important to me? Where am I going with my life? Because and this is something I've witnessed with clients, that I've witnessed in a positive way. People model their behavior, and we model our behavior in our parents. Maybe even we use them as an inspiration or as a warning. You know, and either you decide that you're going to model the best parts of them and follow in their footsteps. And I guess where I'm at now is I feel like I've got this. I had only saw things through a lens of, you know, black or white. And this is something which has helped me with my attitude to life, and with things like nutrition and food, you know, and with clients. There's a lot of space between being what we call good and bad. There's a lot of areas in there that you can choose to go down, and I think I've spent most of my life being quite rigidly minded. Like, I'm either all into something or 100% in or 100% out. and I'm only just starting. I think I'm learning to realize that there's lots of space in between.
Yeah.
And I've had the chance to learn some skills, and I'm slowly widening my vocabulary emotionally, and I'm realizing that I think I probably operated on 3 or 4 emotions: anger, frustration, sadness, and excitement. And actually there's
so much more.
There's so much more. And that's been a powerful shift as well. It's been realizing that there's any negative emotion that I'm feeling is generally coming from some kind of unmet need that I've got. Whether that, and a lot of times it's not the most obvious thing. It's certainly for me, it's not like cars and money. It's more connection and feeling like I'm making a difference, feeling loved. And that takes a bit of work as well, just to get to the point where I accept that I need a bit of that. I need to give that to myself.
And you're deserving of it, and you're worthy of it, and
so I can go on. I've got more.
You touched on saying earlier. You said earlier that you felt you didn't have the tools to know who you were or where you wanted to go with your life. So where are you at with that now? Where are you at with that toolbox? What's in there?
I feel like where I'm at right now, I feel like I'm climbing back up the hill, if that makes sense, because that realization of, I think, holy shit, I have spent the majority of my life not necessarily. I mean, I think I tried to do what I thought was right, but I think I drove myself to absolute despair, trying to be the opposite of my father, my dad. And then, okay, I'm at this point now where I'm realizing that, and then I let go, or try to let go of a lot of that, and then figuring out, who am I? So taking, personality tests and looking at character strengths and trying to, like, what are my values? What are my values? What are the values that I want to bring into Train? And that, almost in a way, that for a wee while there, probably about a year, I kind of lost my steam a little bit. I lost a little bit of motivation because I'd come to that realization, and because I kind of, I guess, reevaluated everything. It's taken me a wee bit of time to just, and where I'm at now is picking things back up and realizing, right, I've got these, I had a lot of negative experiences growing up, but one of the good things that came out of that is I'm quite resilient. Everyone's got that. Everyone's got these tools, that they're sometimes we're aware of them, and sometimes I wasn't. I wasn't really thinking about what. I was maybe only thinking I had some negative experiences and that was it. But the benefit of that is that it's made me quite, resilient.
Yeah, definitely.
So I think where I'm at, I'm slowly learning that anger might not just be one emotion that I'm feeling. There's probably a bunch more. I'm trying to learn a wee bit more about vulnerability, and I'm trying where I can to talk about that on my social media and get that, start that conversation, especially with men, because my initial reaction when my coach introduced vulnerability to me and Brene Brown was, to be honest, a wee bit of like disgust, because I had it confused with like a neediness, or maybe I had it associated with weakness or neediness, and what I've having played about with it, I've realized that having some, like, I don't know what you would call it, candor, or being really honest, like coming from a place where I want something back, and this has really been huge for me and Kate, and deepening the connection in our marriage, is that me being able to say, I'm feeling, I don't know, I'm feeling sad, whatever, I'm feeling alone, or whatever. But being able to be more honest, has been a bit of a game changer for us. Because it's an area that I struggle with, and I think a lot of people do, men and women do, but I think maybe guys are a wee bit more generally. So I'd like to open that conversation.
Yeah. From what I know and observe from how you work and on you on social media, it seems like you're creating space for those conversations with your clients as well at the gym, which is probably a little bit different from some other trainers and other gyms. And
I think so. I think we try and be open-minded. I think the way that we work with clients, or the way that I work, Craig works, we try and we're open to working with someone at the level that they're at, not where we want them to be. We don't put up a lot of before and after transformations. It's something that we're becoming known for the fact that we don't do it. If that makes sense. Like I get asked, people ask me all the time why we don't do it. It's normally other personal trainers, because we've been told, but in fitness marketing, the world of fitness and fitness influencers and personal training, it's like that's your business card. You know, you put up someone 12 weeks later looking slightly less, or more toned than they did at the beginning, and I've just never done that. I'm not into it at all, because I've witnessed people go through tremendous transformations that are not always simply in the vacuum of physical change. It could be the person's massively improved their health. They're, maybe tons of, health issues or problems that they were having have come down. Their confidence is up. They're, if I can even get someone to the point where they don't need me, that's better. I don't want to have a client that needs me. I want to have
that's a great goal to have.
Don't need me. I don't want that. And if I'm working with, I've the longest term client that I've got working with me is 6 years. So I got some clients that were with me for a long time. So I guess where we're a wee bit different is in that we're not. If someone wants to get shredded, I'll help you do that, but I'm not going to help you do that at the expense of your health.
So it seems like it's quite a holistic approach to health and well-being that you're cultivating there.
We're trying to. I don't think physical change happens in a vacuum. So I don't think maybe you could change your body fat. You could develop your strength. But generally, for that to happen sustainably, there's going to, habit change and lifestyle changes. That's the driving factor behind that. And with that comes mindset shifts, and I would say that tends to be the biggest point of feedback that we get from our clients. It's their attitudes and their perception towards exercise, and often, the unknown is scary. So for people, I've got a lot of female clients that have never lifted a weight in their life. They've never done a deadlift. They've never done a squat. And sometimes I know that when I, previously when I was in the gym starting out, you kind of forget that. You forget what it's like to be a beginner in something. So you're super confident because you walk into any gym in the world and kind of know what you're doing. But put me in a dance class, and I'm in the back of the room. I'm in the corner. I don't want to be there because I don't know what I'm doing, and I don't like feeling like that. Because the reality is nobody does. And anything that's worthwhile having, or most things that are worthwhile having, are difficult. But where we can reach out and get support, and what we try and do and train with our clients is to again work with them where they're at. So
that's brilliant.
I'm not trying to grab someone and throw them to some arbitrary goal. I want to try and work with them step at a time. And help them, like you say, holistically improve.
So, Jonathan, what's your own like personal practices or ways that you find to balance yourself, find focus or presence? What do you do for yourself?
I guess, you know, first thing that comes into my head is be with the kids.
Yeah.
Yes, not so much like when you're trying to get them out the door in the morning. That's not a. I wouldn't class that as like a positive thing that I do. I just,
yeah.
sometimes in that chaos, sometimes in that, there's moments of like the middle of the night. You get woken up in the middle of the night. It's not great. And then all of a sudden you're looking at this. You're looking at that. I'm looking at my daughters, and everything feels right. So there's wee moments like that. That's the first thing that comes into my head. I'm sure. Yeah.
Yeah.
You know
gratitude.
What I mean?
Yeah.
In terms of what I do that helps balance me out, my keystone habit's always been the physical. So I've dabbled. I'm a dabbler, so I've tried tons of forms of meditation and breathing exercises, Wim Hof. I guess I've tried a lot of different things. What I always come back to is I view those negative emotions. They're pent up frustrations, and something that I always say. I don't know if it's true, but it's something that I've found is coming back from a jiu-jitsu class. There's no road rage. There's never been a person who's come out of an hour of sparring and ends up getting frustrated on the way home. You've expended all of that frustration, all of that energy. You've managed to get it out in a constructive way, and then so I often feel like if I exercise, my go-to is always the visceral. It's always like rough and tumble play. My whole life, it's always been. Yeah, that's my go-to. Sparring, martial arts is perfect. And then sometimes after that, that's when I can really start to write down my thoughts and dissect what's a real problem that I've got. What's something I could work on, and what's just that 90% of this was just pent up frustration. I just needed to just get it in my system.
Get that off, shake it off, and then see what's actually happening.
And it's often not as big as as it seems.
Great. So interesting, Jonathan. So how could, if anybody watching, if they want to come and find out more about Train MBS and join you at the gym, where can they find you?
We're on, we're on social media. So we're on Instagram, we're on Facebook, although we're trying to we're trying to be selective about when and how we post on those platforms. But you can find us on there. So if you look up train_MBS on Instagram or trainmbs.com, and you'll find information about what we do, where we are. We've got an online program which we're just launching. So we're creating a library of workouts that can be done anywhere at any time. They're guided follow along workouts. And you can find out more information there.
Great. That's so good. Thank you so much, Jonathan. I'm so inspired by everything that you've been saying. And you mentioned something earlier, and actually wrote it down because I was like, oh, that's such a good point. And you were talking about the space in between good and bad, and just knowing that space is really, really vast. And I think that's just such a really great learning that I'm definitely going to take on as a perspective shift on some things. And I love what you're saying about that after that jiu-jitsu class or that sparring class for you, like road rage sort of your gauge on where you're at. So yeah, I really love that, and I'm definitely taking that away for myself.
That's great.
So thanks for chatting to me, Jonathan.
Appreciate giving me the time. Thank you.
Yeah, and I hope your lunch sounds is as good as your breakfast sounded, those pancakes. So.
Yep. Thanks so much,
All
Jenny.
right. Thanks, Jonathan.
Thank
Have
you.
a great day.
All right, thank you. Bye. Bye.
Thanks for listening, everyone. Have a great day.